What's going on? My name is Austin Rutherford and welcome to my channel where we talk all things business, finance, and real estate. About 7 years ago today, I ended up flipping my first house and I walked away with this check right here. Of that, about $107,000 of it was net profit. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I was able to find that deal back in 2014, the marketing that I did to find it, and what's different today. How are we finding deals today? So best ways to market and find opportunities so you can get paid like I did. So smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm before we get going. So when I first started my journey on real estate investing back in 2014, one of the biggest ways to market to sellers was through direct mail. So we get lists and then we put in, envelopes, letters and envelopes, sometimes handwritten ones. I like the handwritten ones because if I received a handwritten letter, I would read it more often than a printed out letter that I would just throw in the trash. But you send letters to sellers to get them to hopefully open up the letter, read it, and call you with interest in selling their property to you. And for the first few years of my career, that was really the main marketing stream, was direct mail. So did direct mail work back then? 100%. Does it work today? Yes, but it's significantly less, right? The ROI on direct mail is a lot less because just not as many people are picking up the phone and calling you back because of the new things that came around, like cold calling, like RVM, like SMS, like PPC, like all these other things that you can get in front of sellers a lot faster than having to send snail mail. But the big takeaway that you got to understand here, when you go out there and you start marketing to sellers, the fortune is in the follow-up. Remember that, the fortune is in the follow-up. They say that you should be in contact with somebody 7 times before you stop mailing to them or calling them or texting them or whatever it is. So keep that in mind. You have to follow up. Follow-up is key. If they don't respond to you, send them another message. If they don't respond to you, send them another message. And then once you do talk with them, if they're kind of motivated, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up until they're ready to sell you the property. Fortune's in the follow-up. For me, it took me, I sent them 6 letters for that first deal. I mailed them 6 times, 6 different times over a 6+ month period. They finally called back on the 6th letter and I was able to negotiate a deal to purchase the property for $102,000. I then got a foundation inspection, renegotiated the property for $74,000 because it needed more work than I thought. We ended up buying that property for 74 grand, put 170 into it, sold it for 375 grand, netting me a profit of $107,000. But remember, the way that all that came about was from follow-up, 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 follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. But when you can do follow-up and you tie in the new marketing channels from here in 2022, when you put those two things together, it's game over for you.
Lillard, long range 3.
So the first thing you gotta do is you gotta get data, right? Data is who you actually market to. So if you wanna learn more about how to get the right data, what types of lists to pull, if you check out this video up here, I broke it down top to bottom on what lists that you should get started with. So finish watching this video and then check out that video up there. And then once you get the list, you then have to skip trace it. So the list gives you the name and mailing address of whoever owns the house. Then you have to skip trace it, which means that you're gonna get the cell phone number or the home phone number, some sort of number for the homeowner. So then what you can do, you can actually start marketing to those people then. Like I said, back in the day, we would just send them direct mail. Now we have their phone numbers, so we actually pick up the phone and cold call them and ask if they want to sell their property. So instead of waiting for the mail to get there and hoping that it gets delivered, we literally just pick up this phone, ring, 30 seconds later, we're directly in contact with the homeowner of the property. So how much should you cold call?
As much as humanly possible.
But if you don't have time for cold calling, everybody has time, let's just clarify that. But if you want to speed things up and call more people faster, you can actually hire people for roughly like $6 an hour. They're called virtual assistants that'll call people all day, every day for you. So instead of you being able to make 50 calls a day, they'll be able to make 500 or 1,000 calls a day, getting in front of much more people, ideally getting you a deal a lot faster. So cold calling is one of the biggest ways people get deals right now. Back in the day it was direct mail. Now cold calling is one way to get leads very, very quickly. The next one, which is probably the most prominent nowadays, and one of the least expensive ways of marketing, is SMS. So SMS is text messages. So you can send text messages to potentially motivated sellers. Again, they might not answer your call. They might see your call and like, who's that? Scratch them. But if they get a text message, it's like, hey, you want to sell your house? They'll be like, yeah, sure. What are you offering? So it's a much easier way to get in contact with these sellers. Almost everyone I know is using SMS because literally the open rate, like if you get a text message, what's the chance that you open it? Very, very high. So the open rate is through the roof. So one of the best texting platforms out there right now is launchcontrol.us. Launchcontrol.us. You can click the link in the description below to check that out. Once you get registered and sign up for it, they have onboarding. So they'll tell you how to set up the campaigns, they'll tell you how to do the marketing, but basically you send out text messages to sellers that says like, hey John, just reaching out about your property. You got any interest in selling, or whatever that conversation looks like. You're just trying to get in contact with people. And the cool thing is these text messages are literally pennies. So it's one of the cheapest marketing streams that you can do. And it's one of the fastest ways to get in contact with sellers. It doesn't get better than that. Like cheap and fast, like I'm in, let's do it. So a lot of people are using the SMS strategy. It's an amazing way to get started in real estate, or if you're already in real estate, add that on. If you're not texting, you're missing out on massive amounts of opportunity right now. And if you have a really big budget for marketing right now, one of the biggest things here in 2022 is PPC. So PPC is pay per click, which is basically Google AdWords. So if somebody jumps on Google and says, need to sell house now, that's somebody that's very motivated to sell their property, right? I need to sell my house right now. Very motivated. So what happens is they search that, and then you can pay for your website to be the first line that comes up on Google. And then they click that link, they pick up the phone and they call you. And then usually some of those are the best deals that you can get, because like they're very, very motivated to sell. And as soon as that call comes through, like you can probably get a deal on the phone right there. Through an SMS or a cold call or direct mail, you're gonna have to talk to them a few times to convince them to sell. Because remember, you're reaching out to them and then they're calling you. So you're initiating the conversation. PPC, they're initiating the conversation. They're searching you out on Google and they call you and they're like, yo, I need to sell my house today. What price can you give me? So not only is it some of the fastest deals that you can actually close, it's also some of the most profitable because they're more motivated, which means the more motivated they are, usually the better price that you get. So the only catch with PPC is you gotta have deep pockets for this. It's not the cheapest thing out there. I know people spending, usually it's a minimum of $5,000 a month, but I know people spending $20, $50, $100,000 plus per month in Google AdWords. So you gotta pay for your name to be at the top when somebody searches. So it can get very expensive, but the closing ratio is crazy, the motivation is crazy, and the profitability of these types of deals is some of the biggest profits that we've ever seen in our business. And last but not least, the good old driving for dollars. A lot of people skip out on driving for dollars. Driving for dollars can be massively profitable. It's how I made millions of dollars. So don't downplay the opportunity of driving for dollars. The problem is it takes a lot of time, energy, and efforts from you to go out there and drive for dollars. And it's not scalable, right? You can't get a list of 50,000 people driving for dollars because you have to drive the entire city, right? But it can be very, very profitable, and it's very targeted, right? You drive around, you see a tarp on a roof, or you drive around, you see boarded up windows, or you drive around and you see grass, growing and it's a foot tall. Like somebody neglected that property. Somebody doesn't want that property. So you pick up the phone, you call that person, you say, hey, I was just walking through the neighborhood. I noticed that it was burnt. I noticed that you got a tarp on the roof. I noticed that the gutters are falling off. I was just reaching out to see if you had any interest in selling your property. So these people, again, can be highly motivated, and it's free. All you gotta do is drive around. It just costs gas money, that's it. So an amazing way to get deals, to get motivated sellers at amazing prices to be able to make yourself profitable in the real estate business. And once you find a deal through any of these strategies, through direct mail, through cold calling, through SMS, through PPC, through driving for dollars, once you find a deal, then you can figure out how to make money on it. You can wholesale it, you can find a cash buyer and wholesale it, you can raise private money to fund the deal, to flip it, or then keep it as a rental property. It all starts with the deal though. You gotta find the deal first, and then the wholesale, the flip, the private money, the rental properties, all that stuff will come thereafter. So if you want to learn how to start flipping houses and buying rental properties, you need the money to do that. So check out this video up here. It tells you more about private money lenders, how to raise money from other people to fund your real estate deals. That is the hack. Once you can get access to money, it's game over. You can buy as many houses as possible. So comment below, let me know your thoughts on this. If you have any questions or feedback, while you're down there, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. I would greatly appreciate that. Hit that subscribe and notification bell so you can get all this content going forward. As always, appreciate you being here. We'll see you on the next one.